It is just a huge honor for me today to bring back for the third time Dave Monahan, the CEO of Kleer, who has a passion for creating technology-enabled businesses that improve people's lives. Prior to joining Kleer, Dave served as president and CEO of FitLinxx, a leader in the wearables market, where he created simple, affordable, and connected wearable devices for medical and sports markets. FitLinxx devices enabled patients to monitor and manage chronic conditions and athletes to monitor and improve their performance. And then he turned his sights to dentistry. And while at Microsoft from 99 to 2006, they developed new product, marketing, partner strategies, helping Microsoft and thousands of other partners enter new markets. He's a graduate of the Pennsylvania State University and Loyola University and resides in the greater Philadelphia area. He's married. He has 3 children. When Dave is not coaching or supporting the kids' activities, he finds time to exercise, travel, and play any sport of competitive activity. You know, I actually started running just recently, running up my credit cards. That's the only way I learned. So I'm bringing it back for the third time just because these plans are just exploding and everybody's talking about it. What's really changed since they brought you on last time? Or how is this business going? Are you glad you went into it, or do you wish you would have went into vets?
Oh, absolutely. I'm very happy that we've gone into it. And thanks for having me again. It's an honor to be on 3 times. Yeah, so just a quick update, and we can go into some other things. But we launched the Kleer platform back in January of 2018. So it's been about 15, 16 months. And we have over 2,000 dentists on the platform. We are doubling our member base and our revenue every 3 months. There's nothing but sort of huge growth in front of us. And the reason is the sort of premise we had coming into the market is proven to be true. And it's really a 2-sided value proposition. So uninsured patients want care. And we've seen that over and over again. They want coverage. They've looked at things like insurance and they've turned it down because it's too complex, too expensive. But the net is they really value oral health. So about 85% of uninsured patients actually tie oral health to overall health. About 75% tie it to quality of life. And so they really want care. And the issue typically is they're afraid of the cost. They don't understand the cost. They don't have coverage, so they stay away. And then on the dentist side, what we're seeing is it's just really driving people closer to the dentist. So when they join a membership plan, they become more loyal, they visit more, they accept more treatment. So both sides of the sort of value proposition we sort of assumed was going to happen has happened. And to your point, the growth has just been through the roof.
The dentists always ask me when I'm out there lecturing or getting emails, they say, what do you think of these in-house insurance plans? And there's a big word there. You're saying membership plans, and they're asking me, what about these in-house insurance plans? Can you talk about that distinction? What is the distinction of a membership plan and an insurance plan? And then a lot of dentists, I get all these emails forwarded to me from their dental societies that start talking about the legalities of, you're having an in-office insurance plan, but you need to blah, blah. So talk the difference between a membership plan and an in-house insurance plan.
Yeah, so that's just a misnomer. When somebody calls it insurance, it's not insurance. You're basically just offering a care plan to your patients directly without a middleman in the way. And so just to quickly just get everybody on the same page, typically a dental practice will offer 3 dental membership plans. One's for children, one's for adults, one's for perio patients. And you can customize it and change it based on your patient base, but that's sort of the standard. And what you're doing is basically making an agreement with your patients that if they pay you a monthly or annual subscription, you'll give them their cleanings, their exams, or x-rays as part of the subscription. And then typically you'll give a discount on other treatment, 20%, 25%, 10%, whatever you want, but you give some discounts on other treatment. So it's not insurance. It's a very simple plan and an offering between you and your patients. And the reason that's really important is a number of reasons. One is the patient's paying you. They're not paying an insurer who's holding on to the cash or, creating all kinds of administrative hassles between you and your patient. So it's direct with your patient, they pay you. And that's great on your side, obviously, but that's exactly what patients want. So in this world, patients are used to things like Netflix and Uber and so on, where you have a direct relationship with the person providing the services. They really value that. and they trust people who are providing services direct, and they obviously a lot less hassle. So rather than having a 10-page document they got to try to interpret, typically you have 3 or 4 lines that explain the plan. And so it's best, it's exactly what your patients want, and it's exactly what you need in order to improve performance in your practice. So yeah, when somebody says insurance, it makes me cringe a little bit because it's not insurance. And then from a legality perspective, just so you follow a set of rules, you're fine. You can offer a membership plan to your patients. And we've looked at all states. We've done a deep legal analysis of this. And what we've done is Kleer is structured around that legal analysis. And there's a number of things you need to do. You can't just go into it blindly. So things like it needs to be HIPAA compliant. It has to be the patient is paying you directly. It can't go to a third party. You can't be creating a network of dentists and offering one plan that covers lots of dentists, like a sort of a network of dentists that an insurer would have. It's got to be direct between you and your patient. So there's probably 10, 15, even 20 rules like that you have to follow. But we've built that all into the platform, so it's very easy. You don't need to worry about it.
And a lot of dentists, they're always asking, is this, is it a stock plan or is it a custom plan? I mean, yeah, go ahead. It's
up to the dental practice. So we have stock plans if you want to use them, but typically every dentist wants to change it a little bit or change the treatment protocol or whatever. So from a treatment standpoint, on the Kleer platform, the dentist can decide, design it however they would like, and it can be customized however they like. So I sort of mentioned most practices will have a child plan, a adult plan, a perio plan, but we also service pediatric practices. And we have one pediatric practice that has 3 different children's plans, and they're all customized based on the age of the children. We have some dentists who, they believe in fluoride for children, other dentists that don't. They can do that. They can create the treatment protocol however they like. You also can customize and set the subscription price yourself. You can set things like, are you going to allow your patients to pay on a monthly basis so that they have to pay all up front? You can even exclude procedure categories. So let's say you want to include everything except orthodontics. You can do that. You can add specialists to the plan. So let's say you have relationships with 3 different specialists. You can add them to the plan, and their offering gets straight to your patients, and there's a direct relationship there, and you're sort of passing the specialists on to them, and that becomes a value proposition of your plan. So it can be, and I could go through a number of other things, but the net is it can be customized for your practice. But if you want to go straight forward and just sort of do what's a sort of common practice would do, we have templates as well you can follow.
So on Dental Town, if you do a search for Kleer, there's several threads on there, and dentists, they love doing dentistry, but I mean, I cannot tell you how many dentists the day after they retired, they still never sent one insurance claim. They still couldn't tell you how many people called their office last. They couldn't even tell you their return on asset for any year they practiced. So they don't really like this stuff. So they ask a lot of questions that they don't understand, like how do offices handle the bookkeeping? Are sign-up payments entered and then they get credit? How does it work technically?
Yeah. So basically, think of Kleer as the platform that connects your practice and your patients with the membership plan. So we provide everything from the dentist, when you're setting up your plan, we have a full registration application, very simple, very easy to design. We give you a consultation with a Kleer Success Manager who will get you and help you design the plan however you want. And then once you launch, you have something we call the Kleer Dentist Portal. And on the Dentist Portal, that's where you can see everything. You can see who's joined. You can see their payments. We connect the back end of Kleer to your bank account, so all the funds flow straight through into your bank account. You can invite patients from the portal. You can do things like create Google ads from the portal. You can track your renewals. So when renewals are coming up, let's say they're 12-month membership plans, 90 days prior to the membership expiring for a patient, you'll get a notification. The patient will get a notification. It will automatically process that renewal and let you know the renewal's been processed. So the net is, I can go through a number of other features just like that. The net is the platform manages the membership plan for you once you launch it. Basically, all you need to do is teach patients about it, promote it in your office. You can promote it outside your office. And then once they join, you basically use the portal and the platform to manage it all. And then on the patient side, they have a portal as well. So once they join, they can log in, they can see their benefits, they can manage their payments, they can even add family members, they can invite friends to join. So think of it as a very sort of robust and comprehensive, sort of platform that, really meets the needs of the dentist and of the patient. And it's all automatic. The practice doesn't need to do a whole lot to manage it.
Well, if you listen to the people talking about your product on Dental Town, that they love. It seems like the open dental users say it's so easy. Do you think Kleer works better with some practice management systems than others? I mean, I know you want to get all the Dentrix, EagleSoft. I know you want to get them all, but if some kid just walked out of dental school starting their own practice and said, you're a business person, do you like one of these practice management softwares better than the other?
It's I can't say I like one better than the other. I get opinions. What's interesting is our base of customers, the dental practices, if you look at the mix of practice management software that they're using, it's very similar to just the overall market percentage. So we have Open Dental, we have Dentrix, and so on. And so it's a very similar mix. I haven't heard actually that one practice management system works better than the other. So that's actually the first I've heard of that. Now, we do typically get a lot of positive comments about Open Dental because it's very easy to access and things aren't hidden, and it's just like a much more obviously open platform. So I'm not surprised by it, but that's the first time I heard one practice management software is better than the other relative to Kleer.
So who do you think is your product champion in the dental office? You think the dentist is recommending and closing Kleer? Is it the hygienist? Is it office manager, the financial? When does this really come up and happen?
So it's really, and we provide all this guidance, it's really three people are critical. It's whoever's at the front desk and greeting patients is sort of step number one. And sort of the process, here's the process we have in place, and it's all documented. We have a playbook for practices to properly promote their membership plan. So when somebody walks in, and they're uninsured, you introduce the concept to them. That we provide brochures to the practice. So you hand them a brochure, you explain it to them. Some patients at that point are ready to buy. They get the value and all that stuff, and they sort of buy right there. Others say, "Let me think about it." They'll go into the back. We actually have a script for hygienists to talk to the patients when the patient's in the chair, just to introduce the membership plan, give their perspective on it. The dentist, when they walk in to do their checkup, we also have a little script that they can use to talk to the patient. And obviously, everybody can customize and talk to it in their own way. But what we found is if it's repeated, and it's across the board. It's the front desk, it's the hygienist and the dentist. And then when the patient's walking back out to check out, the person at the front desk mentions it again. That's the best way to sell, is sort of reinforce it across the group. Now, if I had to pick one or the other, who's the biggest champion of a membership plan? It's the office manager. Is typically the number one person who needs to be behind it, organizing it, make sure everybody's on the same page. But a coordinated sort of plan is the best.
And there's one Kleer thread that is very, very long, and a very common question is this more for indemnity dental insurance offices or PPOs, or what does that have? What is your fee schedule, PPOs, Medicaid? What does that have to do with your product?
Nothing. So no, we're definitely not an indemnity plan. We're not a PPO, nothing like that. So the net is, when you create a membership plan, you control everything. You control what the treatment protocol is. You decide what's included in the plan. You decide what the discounts are. You set the office fee schedule. So typically what our practices do is they'll provide their fee schedule. They're just their standard fee schedule they have in the office. We'll upload that into the platform, and then they'll just take a discount off of those standard fees. And they decide that, the practice decides. Typically, it's 20%, some are 10%, some go to 30%, but it's all up to the practice to decide. It's not indemnity. You want these patients coming to your office. What we see is when a patient's engaged or coming in, a number of things happen. They become more loyal to the practice. Obviously, they're visiting more. They'll accept more treatment. And then just as important as all of that, if they're coming in and getting treatment and doing their cleanings, they'll renew the agreement and the membership at the end of the year, which is critical to the long-term success of the membership plan. So it's almost the opposite of some of those types of plans, where it's fully in your control and you really, really want the patient to come into the office.
Just listening to dentists talk, you can really tell how far behind it is as a cottage industry than, say, the S&P 500. Like, you go into dentistry and everybody's always talking about new patients. Once you go to the Fortune 500, where their life expectancy, when I was born, the average life expectancy on the S&P 500 was 60 years. Now it's down to 20 years. And nobody at Southwest Airlines or Chase Bank is trying to get a new customer to fly Southwest Airlines. They're all about loyalty programs. I mean, Costco even went so far as to say, if you're not a member, we won't even let you in our store. And they were showing, Saul Price was showing everybody how that you don't want to do marketing. Sam Walton was the first one to cut marketing. He goes, when you tell mom that you have a going out of business sale, a 4th of July sale, all this crap, she goes, it's an expensive marketing program that you got to raise your prices. We're going to do every day, same low pricing. And they put all their marketing money on loyalty programs. So how does a membership plan increase patient loyalty? And why do you think patient loyalty is more important than marketing?
You nailed it. I mean, that is the value of a membership plan, is the loyalty you get from your members and what happens from the loyalty. So the reason a membership plan creates loyalty, and by the way, you can do this in other ways. Treat people special, right? Thank them for coming in your office, shake their hand, look them in the eye. Just whatever you can do to make them feel special is going to create loyalty. But the reason a membership plan creates loyalty is, remember, these patients are uninsured patients. Their view of the world is, I'm on the outside of the ropes looking into dental care. And the odds are probably stacked against me of getting a deal and feeling good about it. So what a membership plan does is it gets them closer to your practice, gets them to commit to your practice. It also makes them feel special. It makes them, we actually measured, we would talk to consumers, uninsured consumers who didn't have any coverage at all. And then after they had the membership plan, we asked them to explain the feelings to us. This is amazing, Howard. These are the types of feelings that came out of it. I feel good about myself. We're like, you feel good about yourself? Why is that? And they would say, I now have coverage. I'm going to get the care I need. And that makes me feel good. And we're like, wow, we never thought that, right? And then we say, okay, what else do you feel? They said, I feel financially savvy. Like, really? Financially savvy? You go, oh, yeah, I bought into this plan and I'm getting a deal, right? And this feels good that I can commit to treatment and get the things I want. It feels good to me that I'm getting I'm making a financially savvy decision. Here's another one that came up. I have peace of mind. And we were like, all right, explain that one. And they just say, I have coverage. So if I need it, I can use it. I don't have to wait forever, right? I can just go in and get the things I need done. So that's what happens from a sort of structural standpoint. Like this, people feel good about getting access to a plan and taking care of their oral care needs. And then we always tell practices to take it beyond that, make it personal. So we have some practices. You walk in the door, if you're a member, you get a little gift when you walk in the door. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can just be something small. All you're saying is, I'm thinking about you and I care about you. And that will drive loyalty. And like I said before, just greeting people and thanking them and shaking their hand. It doesn't have to be a gift. The gift is, I appreciate you. So those just add a whole nother level of loyalty. And then what we see is when the patient feels good about things and they trust you and they feel closer, now they're on the other side of the rope, they accept treatment. They come in more and they accept treatment, and your case acceptance goes up quite a bit. And to your point, you don't have to be spending a lot of marketing money to go find, new patients. It's right in your charts. It's just a matter of making people feel more comfortable and get them to make the decision to accept the treatment.
It is just truly amazing. I mean, you go meet a dentist, and he's worked in a small town of 5,000 people from age 25 to 65. He's gotten 20 new patients a month for his whole life. And you ask him at 65, what do you need, buddy? He's like, well, I need new patients. It's like, how the hell could you need new patients in a town of 5,000? You've been here 40 years. They just don't understand. They get rid of their this amazing person up front because she asked for $1 raise. And they're like, you're making $16 an hour. I could fire you and hire someone for 12. You could get a homeless person, but I don't know if you're going to make money off that. So, loyalty is just everything. And, it's just loyalty. Southwest Airlines, you punch a card, 10 punches, you get a free trip. And then the dentists say to me, when I talk about membership plans in my seminar, they say, well, the reason I like the people that don't have insurance is because they're paying these higher fees. And now your best idea to me is to give those guys a discount. They say, I don't like, it started 30 years ago with high fee indemnity delta. And then they switched that to lower fee PPO. And so now they're down to, they only love their cash patients. Then here's some stupid Howard guy saying, well, do a membership plan and give those guys a discount. They're like, that's crazy. What would you say to that guy?
Oh, yeah. So I get it. It's a leap. I get this. I get the sort of pushback. But we actually have the data. And what we see is if you compare a membership plan patient to let's just talk about uninsured for a second. I'll talk about insured in a minute as well. But when you compare a membership plan patient to just a typical uninsured, a typical membership plan patient will come in about 1.5 times a year, where a typical uninsured patient comes in once every 2 years, so 0.5 times a year. So they'll come in, what we see is 2 to 3 times more. They'll visit more. When they're in the chair, they'll accept 50 to 75% more treatment as a membership plan patient versus an uninsured. And the as part of that, the net revenue obviously goes up in a similar way. So net revenue goes up 50 to 75% for those patients. The leap you need to make as a dentist is, and actually this isn't a leap, I just tell dentists to take a look at their data. So I looked at a lot of different practices' data. And what you see is those uninsured patients don't come in anywhere as near as much as the dentists think they do. They think they're coming in all the time, and they actually are not. So that's number one, is check your data. And then number two is then check the case acceptance on those uninsured patients. So the leap you need to make is, if I give, let's say, 10, 15, or 20% discount, what I'm going to get in return is more of those patients coming in more often and accepting a lot more treatment. And like I said, we see it in the data, but I know it's a hard leap to make. You just need to be able to make that leap. And it's based on once somebody has coverage, they feel comfortable, they trust you, they're more loyal, and they'll commit to more treatment and more visits.
Yeah, I want to talk about what you just said for a minute, because it's obvious to us, but it might not be if you're 23 and just graduated last Friday. It's called selling the invisible. When I go buy an iPhone or a Diet Coke, everybody knows what that is. And the person doing the transaction, I don't need to trust or have a relationship. But we're dentists. We sell the invisible. And when I go to you and you say I have 4 cavities, I mean, how do I know that's true? I mean, how do I know anything? So when someone is referred to you by a friend, and we had the owner of Facebook is Mark Zuckerberg. His dad's a dentist. His dad's come on the show same amount of times as you, 3. Ed Zuckerberg. Nice. And you and Ed Zuckerberg. And when I asked Ed, I said, well, what's the best way to advertise your practice on Facebook? He always says, the check-in. When someone comes in your office, you give them a free toothbrush after a cleaning. Why don't you give them a free $1 toothbrush when they check in on Facebook? Because this average person has 140 followers, and they say, oh, well, my good buddy Dave, he goes to Howard at Today's Dental, and so that's good for me. So then when they come in there referred and I say you got 3 cavities, they're not thinking, do I trust this guy? Hell, he's referred by Dave. So now it's just about, oh my God, is it going to hurt? Can you put me to sleep? How much is it going to cost? When are you going to do it? Blah, 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 blah. So when you do all this marketing dollars for these new patient strangers, and they'll do something like cleaning, exam, and x-ray for $19. And so they'll come in. And then at the end of the exam for $19, say, oh, you have 4 cavities. They're $250 each. It'll be $1,000. And they immediately think, oh, I get it. A $20 cleaning, and I need $1,000 worth of dentistry. And they walk out the door. Then I turn to that dentist and I say, get on your practice management system and show me your case acceptance, right? They have no idea how to even figure that out. They don't know how to track it. They're just clueless. So all you need to remember is that you just want one patient that thinks you're a good guy and your office is a good team and they trust you, and build from there. You don't want to do all this Groupon crap and get all these people that come in, don't know you from anything. And every time you're presenting treatment, you're on the defense because they think you're selling. So loyalty, I mean, you want to make the people who trust you the most loyal, and forget about the 8 billion other people that live in 6 other continents. Focus on the people that have made a relationship and trust you.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, we work with a lot of practices, and I've yet to see somebody show me a new patient generation, whatever special type of thing that actually worked over the long haul. They are almost all in the door, out the door, and they typically accept very, very little treatment. And what we do, actually, when we work with the practices, we get rid of those specials. We just tell them, don't offer the special, offer the membership plan. You're going to get the right type of patient. You don't want all patients. You only want the right type of patient. If somebody really wants to commit to you and be loyal to you, they're going to commit to a membership plan over the long haul, and they're not going to, to your point, the specials are just going to keep the door turning. But yeah, it's funny when you talk about it from that your sort of perspective. I just sort of, based on my previous background, it's just known. These things are just known, and it's just sort of a basic sort of fact that these are the things you do in order to create a long-term valuable business. But in dentistry, it's we're seeing some good light. I'd say 20 or 25% of dentists are getting it and moving forward, and the others hopefully are going to come along as well.
So a lot of dentists, they if they're into business, they watch Shark Tank. And, that's the big dental business show. So the first question Mr. Wonderful is going to ask, how do you make money on the deal?
So it's really simple. We don't make money unless the dentist makes money. So we don't have any upfront fees, no implementation fees, nothing like that. So we basically just take, on average, it's about $4 per patient per month of patients that are on the platform paying a subscription to the dentist. What we like about that model is our interests are aligned. We're not just going to drop software on the practice and leave. We actually have a success team, and there's really 3 steps to the success team. The first is they meet with you, they talk to you, they understand your practice, they understand your patients, and they help you design the plan. And they have experience working with thousands of practices. So they can give a lot of good insight and sort of help you design the plan to meet the needs of your practice and your patients. Once that group's done, they're handed to a launch team. And the launch team's goal is to get that practice to add their first 10 members within the first, depending on the size of the practice, that can be 10 days, that can be 20 days, 30 days, 40 days. But the net is get the practice used to selling the plan, make sure they're using those scripts, make sure they have all the materials out in the office, they're advertising it as needed outside of their office and things like that, and just get them going and comfortable and moving forward. Once the practice gets to 10 or so patients, then they're handed over to what we call the growth team. And the growth team basically says, okay, how are we going to get this over hundreds or even thousands of patients and make this thing work for you at a long-term and in a high-value way? So the net is, I know it's a long answer to your question, but we think it's really important that we need to be aligned to the interests of the practice. And we don't want any money up front. We just want to get paid as you get paid.
And then Dennis asked, what's the disadvantage of them just doing it themselves? Why do they need a company like Kleer to do this? I mean, isn't this something they could just do by themselves?
Yeah, we get that question a number of times. So jump into the chase, and I'll go through some details. Well, our best practices are ones who try to do it on their own and then realize it's harder than they expected. So I can't tell you how many practices we've had, and they come and say, I got to 50 patients on on my membership plan, or 75, and it started collapsing on me. And there's a number of reasons it starts to collapse. It's just hard to track everybody and when they bought and when the renewals are, what benefits they have, what have they paid, what have they not paid, and then also create an experience for the patient that feels good and they feel confident in. We've seen a lot where it's paper-based. You print something out and you fill out a form, and then somebody takes it behind the desk, or somebody takes information and the patient doesn't see where it goes, and they leave with pretty much nothing but a brochure. And they feel like, okay, what did I actually buy there? I'm not sure exactly what actually would happen. So the net is, there's a number of reasons to use the platform versus doing it on your own. One is just the administrative side of it, and it costs a lot of money to administer the plan. It's also gets difficult. Renewal rates, what we typically see in manual plans is renewal rates in the 25 to 50% area, because it's hard to track. And then once somebody comes up for renewal, you got to call them, you got to get the credit card information. Typically, they say, I'm not going to renew until I come back into the office, which might be 3 months or 6 months from that time. So on our platform, we have auto renewal. So when you sign up and buy a plan, you're into an auto renewal program. You can opt out if you want, but pretty much nobody does. And so when your 12-month renewal comes up, it renews automatically. It'll notify that we have legal reasons or whatever, legal regulatory things we need to follow as far as renewing that membership. But we take care of all those things. We send notifications as needed. But renewals happen, and the renewal rate on our platform is over 80%. And we have practices that are in the 90s. And you can do that just by following a few simple sort of best practices we provide. Things like compliancy and regulatory issues. trying to create something manually that's HIPAA compliant is very, very difficult. And so just being able to protect the data, being able to meet the state regulations. There's data privacy regulations outside of HIPAA. There's consumer laws you got to follow. So there's a lot you got to follow from a compliancy standpoint. The other is just having all the materials prepared for you. So if you're going to create your own membership plan, then you need to start creating marketing materials and brochures. You need to create a place on your website, landing page. You got to create a process for people to patients to purchase. We take care of all that. It's all out of the box. You can get going in minutes. So you don't have to spend a lot of time doing all that work and spending a lot of money getting ready. And there's a bunch of other things like just the playbooks we provide. So we have a playbook on how to implement a successful membership plan. It's really simple, step by step. It'll show you exactly how to do it. We have a renewal guide. How do you maximize your renewals? And it's, again, a step-by-step guide and things like that. So I think the net is, could you do it? You could. Will it be correct? It probably won't. There'll probably be a lot of issues with it. And then you'll also probably will have some regulatory issues. And then we see very consistently renewal issues with manual plans.
So this one guy writes, so this plan, Kleer, has really been helping. I've had quite a few longtime patients finally decide to do proposed work that they have been putting off for years. I was skeptical and somewhat stressed about the discount and why was I discounting when those people were perfectly happy paying my full fee. It dawned on me, though, that yes, they came in for the hygiene visit and paid, but there was no guarantee that they were going to come back in 6 months to do it again. And anyway, your biggest fans are posting about this on Dentaltown. That's why we had you back.
Yeah, we see that all the time. And that it's funny to me that it's a surprise that happens because we know it happens. It happens every day on these membership plans. It's just a matter of people seeing it, right, and seeing it live in their practice. But yeah, like I said, we're seeing acceptance rates 50 to 75% higher for membership plan patients than uninsured. And what it's I don't know what to call it. It's almost, you have active opportunities and latent opportunities. And the active opportunities, I might have like a major pain I got to get taken care of, so I get it taken care of. And if somebody's uninsured, they're going to do those things. But the latent opportunities where I can put something off, if they're not part of a membership plan, a lot of times they put those off. If they are part of a membership plan, they often move forward with the treatment.
Yeah, this one guy is writing, the truth about in-house membership plans is that you can use them to get off PPOs and HMOs and Medicaid and Medicare. Do you, what is that part of the, I mean, what are your, if some dentist said, I want to do this because I'm trying to get off PPOs, do you think that's a good strategy, or do you say, no, that's not even right? What does that make you think?
It's I would not suggest it if you had a high percentage of insured patients. If you have a small percentage, yeah, you can manage it, and I wouldn't do it overnight. So what we see successful practices do is they'll drop the worst of their PPOs and replace it with a membership plan. And they'll do that over the course of time. So they might announce it, 6 months in advance or 12 months in advance that you're not going to accept that, particular insurance. And if you like, we have this membership plan for you to move over. And like I said, it's typically the worst of the worst on the insurance side. If somebody said, I'm going to just sort of wipe the slate clean and not accept insurance anymore, I'm going to put my membership plan in place, I'd say they're going to face a bit of a daunting challenge in the short term because that insurance is being subsidized by an employer, and the employee or your patient isn't seeing the full cost of that plan. So the idea that they need to now pay full price for a membership plan versus some subsidized value for an insurance plan, it's going to be difficult to make that happen. Now, I'll foreshadow and say the day is coming when that will be a perfectly legitimate strategy, is to drop insurance for a membership plan. We're going to have some features and functionality coming that will enable that to happen. But as of today, it'd be difficult. I'd be cautious and I'd work it over time, not just sort of snap my fingers and move forward with it.
The another issue that we're having is, this is the internet, so it's international. There's 2 million dentists around the world. There's 250,000 on Dentaltown from every country registered on earth. And whenever you go to Asia, Africa, the insurance that blows your mind. I mean, I think a lot of dentists in America don't even realize that they don't do this in China. And China's got 5 people for every one of you. But when I'm lecturing in China, it hurts their brain to want to know why. Well, if you drink Coca-Cola and eat Hershey's chocolate bars all day, Why should your government or employer pay for your dental work? They call it perverse incentives. And then the other day, somebody from New Zealand put together a law that proposed a law that all dentistry be free in New Zealand. And every dentist I know from New Zealand that was emailing me the link to this article is like, oh, so now they have zero incentive to quit drinking Mountain Dew and just brushing their teeth with lollipops and Tootsie Rolls. I mean, I don't understand how this insurance thing, it's really gotten bad. Like when people say they want free healthcare, well, why would you switch from a breakfast of cigarettes and coffee to a grapefruit if all your cancer was free? I mean, incentives matter. And I really think incentives, it's one of the reasons the 20 richest countries are broke from all these free health insurance. And then when you go to these people and say, well, at least make them do a 10% copayment, they look at you like you're some kind of criminal. Like, how could you want this person to pay? Well, maybe because he had a cigarette and a cup of coffee every morning for breakfast, ate Taco Bell for lunch. I mean, incentives matter, but it's just, but back to the United States where 80% of our listeners are, there's something about the culture in the United States that when it comes to healthcare, if they don't have insurance, they can't spend. It's like, well, I don't have insurance. But then they go buy an F-150 pickup truck for 90 grand and fly to Disney World. So this kind of satiates that psychological Western civilization mind that you have dental insurance, even though it's not dental insurance and it's a membership plan. They need this in their decision making because it's just so illogical.
Yeah. So I think I can comment on the health insurance side because I have some experience from a prior life there, but I agree with you 100%. We need incentives to keep people healthy. It's never going to happen unless there's incentives. And by the way, I think I know people hate them, but the move towards high deductible plans, I think is actually the right plan. I'm not talking about dental, I'm talking about medical.
We'll talk about that for a second because it's such a big part of U.S. healthcare and it's the least understood even by the providers.
Yeah. So I think what happened, the perverse part of it is that health insurance started covering everything, right? Why should health insurance be covering my, my penicillin pills, right? They shouldn't. It should be, if I have a catastrophic accident, it's going to cover me. But if I'm not taking care of myself and I need some medications, I don't think insurance should cover that. I think that should be on your own dime. So the high deductible plans, I think, is trying to shift it towards, you know what, if I don't take care of myself, I'm going to eat into that $5,000 deductible and I'm paying it out of my own pocket. Therefore, I'm going to try to be more healthy, right? And it's an economic solution to it. I think the other way to do it, and I have some history here as well, is you incent people based on if they're willing to start taking steps in the right direction. So I have some sort of chronic condition and I'm willing to take steps in that direction, which might include I'm going to monitor my activity. I'm going to step on a weight scale once a day, and I'm actually going to take actions to move myself in the right direction. I'll get incentives based on that. I'm with you 100%. If people want full coverage, everybody gets everything covered, and there's no penalty for being unhealthy, we're just going to go bankrupt. I think the country's going to basically swallow or whatever, choke on its healthcare bill. I think dental and you go to these countries like let's go to Canada because they're the closest neighbor with socialized medicine. Well, everybody loves the healthcare. Granted, well, let's break that down. First of all, only 1% of Americans or Canadians spend the night in a hospital on any given year. So 99%, of course, they think it's great. They didn't use it that year. But what you said, they'll go drop $50 at a Mexican restaurant and have margaritas. But they expect to go in because I have a sniffle and they want antibiotics and they think all that should be free. And insurance is about an actuarial risk analysis versus moral hazard. I don't buy insurance to change the oil in my car and gas it up and clean the window. I only have it in case I have an accident. And healthcare took that actuarial risk analysis of an unforeseen accident and said, no, let's just pay for every little piece of the car. If you want to change your air filter, your oil filter, whatever you want to do, your boss or Obama should pay for it. You're like, what? and then when I ask my own patients, well, why did you get that knee replacement?
because it's 50 grand. Knees are 50, hips are 100. And she'll say, well, I don't know. The doctor said I should do it. I said, well, how much was it? Oh, I don't know. Medicare took it. Well, if he would have said, look, grandma, it's 50 grand and your portion's 10%. So give me 5 grand. Half of them would have said, hell no, I'll take buffering. And then they want to know why the utilization's so high, the cost so high. And then if she had to pay 10%, she might sit there and say, well, my portion's 5,000. Well, we're in big, expensive Phoenix. I'm going to call my sister who lives in Salina, Kansas. Then she finds out that the $50,000 knee in Salina, Kansas is only 40,000. So she flies Southwest Airlines to go spend a week with her sister to save on her copay. But whenever you talk about these reforms in socialized medicine from Canada to England, they look at you like, are you just a bad guy? Are you like a mean, evil person? What other things do you think are confusing to you from your background in insurance?
Well, the thing that amazes me is how the insurers don't move and change. I mean, it's just the way they are. But the net is just trying to get them to do anything differently or incent people in a different way, or sort of change the system. They're just not going to do it because obviously they've been making money for a long time and they continue to make money, and there's no reason to change. If Obamacare didn't scare them, I don't know what's going to scare them, and they just continue to move down the same path. So I feel like it's just got to come from the outside, and you're starting to see that there are people out there like the large employers are now taking things under their own control and doing self-insurance. So I don't think it's going to change from the insurers. I think it's going to change from the outside. And it's the people paying the bill that are going to end up changing it. When you think about it, it's the employers who pay the bill for the most part, plus the U.S. government. But the U.S. government obviously isn't going to do too much either. So the net is, to me, the changes come from the employers. And it's become almost a backbreaker for a lot of businesses to try to afford healthcare. So I'm actually encouraged that starting with the people like Walmart and Amazon and Microsoft are now taking action to improve it. I'm not sure you've seen some of these alliances, but there's now thousands of employers aligning with each other to try to take this on.
So I can't believe you read my mind. That was my follow-up question. What do you think about Bezos and Chase and Microsoft getting together and starting to think tank on this? What do you think they're thinking, and what do you think is going to come of that?
So I think it's awesome. I think it's exactly what needs to happen. And the reason is they're paying the bill, right? And they should have a say on how things happen. And you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to get rid of the middleman. So what they're trying to hold the healthcare providers accountable. They're trying to measure the results. I mean, think about that, Howard, for a second. If you didn't have a business where you held people accountable and measured results, how are you going to get results, right? And they know that. They run successful companies. So that is, I'm 100% behind it. I think it's absolutely the right move, and I think they are going to solve the problem on their own, doing it directly. And there's plenty of, now data is it's easier to get a hold of data. It's easier to measure. It's easier to create relationships with healthcare providers than it used to be. So I think they are going to figure it out. Here's the parallel, by the way, to dental. The dentists need to do something similar, right? The dentists have to at some point stop, accepting insurance, or stopped accepting what the insurers are giving them. And this is part of the membership plan thing, and go direct. And there's no reason not to do it. It's just a matter of getting the critical mass to move in the right direction. And we're seeing it on the employer side in healthcare. I think we're going to see, and hopefully we'll be part of it with dentists on the against the dental insurers. And then
another, I want to comment on that question about the dentists say, well, because here's the problem in their mind. The indemnity has gone from, when I got out of school, you just billed Delta and they just paid you whether it's 100% clean exams, x-rays, 80% for root canals, fillings, 50% for crowns and dentures partials. And then after about 10 years, they said, no, let's not do that. We're just going to tell you this is the fee for a root canal, billet, and crown. And that's been drifting down nicely for 30 years. So they love this fee for service people. And then when they want to go drop that PPO, they say, well, you think I should drop that PPO? No, I'll just say, well, how many patients are on that PPO? They don't know. What is the average adjustment rate on that plan? They don't know. You want to know your numbers first, and then you would want to drop the smallest PPO. I mean, you start with, let's drop a plan that not even 1% of my patients have. Let's start there, but let's get how many were on that plan, how many of them had their records transferred, never came back. What if you drop that 1% and then you mailed them or called them about in-office membership plan. But you need to have a scientific approach forward on this.
Absolutely. Yeah. To your point, I dropped the ones that have no patients on it, very few patients. I'd also drop the ones where I lose money, right? Why accept that? To your point about not knowing data, we ask practices every day. One of our first questions to them is, how many patients do you have? How many are uninsured? And they'll swear that their uninsured patients are coming in often, but they don't even know how many uninsured patients they have. So just even the most basic of questions is typically hard to get answered. And that just amazes me, given that that's sort of their lifeblood of their practice. So I'm not surprised to hear that they don't know their data. But hopefully, I think over time, there's some solutions out there now that can extract data better out of practice management software, and you can view it better and use it. So I think over time, that'll become better.
What I like about talking to you is that, these dentists, they only know their own office. And then this issue comes up, membership plans. And again, they know their own office. How many offices have you worked with?
A couple thousand.
Yeah. So they just not going to have that framework. I mean, they're not going to be able to see this issue at 30,000 feet like you do. What do you think the solo guy doesn't understand that if he could see a couple thousand offices at 30,000 feet on just specific membership plans, he'd think about this very differently?
It's really just understanding what your patients are doing day in and day out, and how many you have, how often do they come back, how many, what type of treatment they're accepting. Like, it's the basics. It's not even that complicated. It's just understanding the patterns of your patients and what they're doing day in and day out. And it's actually a pretty easy view to see. So what we do when we work with practices who don't see that and would like to see it is, I'll just take an Excel dump and we'll just do a quick analysis of it and show them exactly what's going on with their uninsured and their insured patients. So the net is, I wish I could just show that to every practice with a snap of my fingers, and then show, when you put them in a membership plan, this is what happens. This is the sort of the step forward you'll take. And what happens is, you're not going to spend a lot of money on new patient marketing. You're going to just engage your existing patients, because you can see the benefit right away.
I just got this. I posted on Dental Time. I said, I'm podcasting this guy right now. What are your questions? First guy, what is the mission? The mission of Kleer is simple. What is your mission? He's asking.
It's to improve access to oral care. That's the net. And as part of that, an outcome of that is patients get better oral care and dentist practice performance improves. So let me just improve access to care. If I'm an uninsured patient walking into a practice, that access, you might think they have access to care, but to them, they don't. They feel like they're on the outside looking in. So we want to improve their access and their ability to get care. We're going to be moving that to other patient bases. I mentioned earlier the employer space. So about 50% of small businesses don't offer dental insurance to their employees. And the reason they don't offer it is it's too complex, it's too expensive. They just don't have time to deal with it. So what if we could simplify that and make that a lot easier for a small business to actually provide and fund care for their employees in a small business? We're going to improve access to care. We want to do things, I can't mention it yet, but we're going to be coming out fairly soon with new services on top, not just the typical service you would come into an office and get care, but other services people can use at home. And we're going to provide a level of care there that the dentist can offer to their patient as part of their membership plan that makes it easy, again, for their patients to get access to care. So in short, it's improve access to care. That's sort of the net of our mission.
That is interesting. And then some guy says, where does the name Kleer come from?
So when we took a look at it and did all the market research, so I don't think I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, where Kleer came from, I'll talk about the name in a second, but the company came from market research we'd done where we talked to patients and dentists and tried to understand the issues. And then we said, okay, the net of all that research was uninsured patients wanted more access to care, wanted it affordable, simple, transparent access, not a crazy complicated insurance. And what dentists wanted was easier ways of making connections with their patients, getting them in more often, having them accept treatment, not taking 40 or 50% cuts from the insurer. Like all that stuff was sort of, came out of the market research. And we just said, okay, we're going to connect the two. And when we realized that, it was a connection to the two and the issues both sides were dealing with, the natural thing that came from that is let's make this clear. Let's just make it clear for the patient and their ability to get access to care. And let's make it clear for the dentist and their ability to improve performance of the practice by offering more simple care to their patients. So that's where Kleer came from.
I noticed Netflix and what's the other one? Amazon Prime. Amazon, when they set this up, they charge you for a year. So we know that's obviously a working business model. It's flipping Amazon. And then Netflix bills you every month. And this dentist asking, would you want a monthly plan that just rolls over every month like Netflix so I never have to sign them up again, or versus a yearly plan where at the end of the year I've got to go back and try to get this guy signed up? Talk about that.
Yeah, so they both come with pluses and minuses. So on a Kleer platform, you can do both, or you can do one or the other. But let me tell you, we typically advise practices to do both, offer both. And what you see is, and this might change depending on your demographics of your patient base, but about 80% of patients 55 plus will pay upfront annually, even if you offer them a monthly option. And the psychology of it is, I don't want anything hanging over my head. I grew up in a world where I pay for what I get, and I just want to pay the bill, and I don't want this thing, hanging out there. Now you shift all the way to the other end of the spectrum, and you go down towards the millennials and the Gen Y, and they love monthly plans. They don't have a lot of disposable income. They grew up in a subscription world, and to them, it's very natural to pay on a monthly basis. Now, by offering both of those, you obviously cover the full spectrum. If you've got a heavy patient base that's 55 plus, that's that has a lot of disposable income, then you might not want to offer monthly, not want to deal with it because there are some hassles associated with that. But no matter which plan type you offer, which payment plan type you offer, when you're on the Kleer platform, the platform handles it all. It automatically does the monthly payment charges. It automatically renews the patient at the end of the year if they paid on an annual basis. It handles all the notifications. So you don't need to deal with all of that. And what we see, by the way, from a payment failure perspective, when somebody's on a monthly plan, the failure rate's about 1.5% over the course of those 12 months. So it's very low. It's not a big deal. And what we do is we'll flag those and make you aware of those, and you can follow up with the patient to get it's typically a stolen or lost card. On the renewal front, when somebody pays annually and then we wait 12 months to charge their card in 12 months, what we see is about a 9% issue rate with payment. And the reason is over those 12 months, people lose credit cards, right? They change credit cards. They have credit cards stolen. So there's this natural sort of about 9% issue rate at the annual level. But once again, we flag those, we notify you, we notify the patient to get that card switched. So it's just a matter of seeing a report and sort of reacting to it.
Another dentist asked, well, my practice is all fee-for-service patients, and they've already got insurance. So why would I do this if all my patients are already fee-for-service on insurance? Is there any advantage with that?
Right now, I would say there isn't a big advantage unless you want to try to drop some of those, the worst of the insurance. It would just depend on how many patients you have on the worst of the insurance. I'd say right now probably doesn't make a lot of sense. Like I said, until we come up with a solution for how you handle employers and get employers onto the plan. But for now, I would say, yeah, if you got 100% insurance, there's probably not a lot of reason to move to a membership plan.
What was I not smart enough to ask? I mean, what do you wish I would have asked that I didn't ask?
That's a good question. I hadn't thought about it. I don't know if I have anything. I guess the one feature I think it's really cool on our platform that I wouldn't expect you to ask, but we actually have a data scientist on our staff, and they actually will compare your practice to peer practices of same size and same sort of makeup. And it will show you how you're performing relative to those practices on your membership plan. And it's a pretty cool little tool that sort of basically says, are you on average, you're above average, you're below average? It also measures whether you're plateauing or rising. So you may have gotten off to, let's say, a good start, and then you start plateauing and your peers are ahead of you, and it will flag it. So there's some cool data stuff we're doing on the back end, and that's just the start of it to help practices really make their membership plans perform well.
Well, I have to tell you, when I started Dental Town, I got the idea in 98, got it up on St. Patrick's Day 99, and everyone else that started out, there was about 20 in that race. And some of them had venture capital, private equity money. Dental Exchange got funded like $20 million. and everybody was trying to disintermediate the supply rep and sell everything direct. This is 20 years ago. But I knew my homies. That Henry Schein girl that comes in once a week was his only connection to the outside world. And my gosh, they didn't get rid of him, and here it is 20 years later. They Amazon still doesn't even sell supplies. And these people that are connected to the outside world, the dentist, all the dentists I know that are doing $2, $3, $4 million a year, it's because they're always they won't place an implant. They'll pick the implant system based on the most amazing rep in their area. And then they'll figure out like, oh my God, there's like 7 periodontists and 3 oral surgeons that are placing 100 implants a year, and they all buy from this person. And they at that point, they don't even know what type of implant it is. It's all about what you know and who you know and the networking. And so when you have a data guy like this, that there's no dentist out there that can look at data from thousands of practices. And the smart ones are the ones that want to see transparency in the marketplace and says, tell me what I'm doing right. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. And day one, when my sales rep came in, I told my friend, don't ever come stand at the counter for an hour while I'm doing a root canal. Make her an appointment just like you would anyone else. And I want to respect them. And then over 32 years, when I needed like a new amazing assistant, who would I go to? I go to my supply lady and say, well, you call on 20 offices. Who do you think the best dental assistant in town is? And she'd tell you. And then when it was about endo, I don't care what she thinks of an endo file. I'd say the best endodontist in my backyard is Brad Gettleman. Do you know what file he's using? And she'll say, oh yeah, I'll find out, So it's all networking. And if you can take advantage of data and get more from your little own bubble, and if you can learn to come outside your bubble, and that was the biggest gift I got just from dental lecturing. I had no idea when I started dental lecturing August 4th in 1990 that 30 years later I would have lectured in 50 countries. And I learned the most about my own country by seeing all the other countries. And the first earliest questions I would have is, why is there no dental insurance in Africa, Asia, Central or South America? And why does everybody in America think it's just the God you have to worship? And it's like, it's not a God you have to worship. And no. It's just so interesting. And that's what I love about the internet. It's really flattening. It's making the cost of knowledge almost go to zero. Like, look at this podcast. I'm talking to you, you're talking to me, they're listening to it for free. The cost of knowledge is dropping to zero, and you young millennials got to get out there and look at the data. Don't spend 30 years to reinvent the wheel. Go out there and just say, if my mom, who's been practicing, could start her own dental office tomorrow, what would she do differently? And but thanks so much for coming on. And really, I hope you go in Dental Town, you or your team, and answer some of these questions, because a lot of them are sold on the idea and on you. But they the devil's in the details. They're just trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah, I'll get on there and I'll start answering the questions. But yeah, I appreciate it. Howard, thanks for having me on. I always enjoy talking to you and being part of Dental Town.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.